And that's it. So, yeah. There we go. What do you know? Recording in progress.
Yeah, we're on the air.
Yes, I believe that we are, but there's no 100% guarantee until I see it in my left monitor over here that the YouTube channel is kicked in. But I believe it has, and even if it hasn't, we've got places to go, people to see, and things to do. So welcome everybody. Yep, we're live. I can see it now. We are live and beautiful. I mean, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Welcome everybody to the 93rd meeting of the SoundBroker Mastermind. And I've changed the name of the show now to the show. It's the SoundBroker Mastermind RoundTable Show. So, yay, I thought that was a brilliant move on my behalf, but what do I know? I'm trying not to become an egotistical maniac in my old life. But anyway, this is a time where we talk about what's going on in current events and how it affects our lives. And remember, everything that you hear today is an opinion. So you be the judge, do your own research, whatever you hear. Don't take our word for it. Make sure that you do your own research. And welcome, everybody. I hope everybody had a good week. Anybody have anything that they want to share before we get into the news? All right, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The biggest story that's out there right now is the New York Times bought Wordle. I mean, it is addictive. I cannot believe how much I've been playing Wordle. I have it set so that every midnight, where I get the link, and of course, midnight there is like 9 o'clock. I think it's 9 o'clock in the morning here, so I get to play Wordle first thing in the day. But it's pretty cool. Have you guys been playing Wordle? Testing. Is this thing on? What the hell? What's going on right here?
Yeah, I mean, I found one that's like Wordle. It's not subscription. It's just sits on it's an app. So
the challenge is, Jan, the rest of us work for a living, see? And we're not living a retirement life on the foreign shores of beautiful Thailand in the shadow of the coconut plantation.
I think before you joined, he called it living the dream.
Okay, in short, living the dream. None of us are doing that. We're working.
You are living the dream, Michael. This is your dream. This is your dream that you've decided that you wanted to do. It's not like you're digging ditches, man. You're doing installs. You're doing live shows. You're getting to deal with the elite, the hoo-ha-ha of our industry all the time. I mean, if I was envious of anybody, I would be of you, the life that you're leading. It's amazing. You are living your dreams.
That's misplaced, I assure you.
You are living your dreams, man. That's all I could say. I think that you're doing a great job.
Shift back to coconut milk and away from coconut wine.
Yeah. Now let's go into some of the shows that are going on. So anyway, so basically what's happening, of course, is Ukraine, Russia, and that's the biggest story that's out there. And it's affecting every one of us, even if we don't even realize it yet, but it will be affecting all of us. Live Nation just ceased doing business with Russia. That was announced just about 15, 20 minutes ago, at least to me. And Green Day, AJR, Louis Tomlinson, they all canceled their concerts in response to the war. 21 Pilots, Nick Cave, Bring Me the Horizon, Franz Fernandez, and I mean, everybody is canceling their shows in support of Ukraine that were going to be doing shows in Russia. So, I mean, the power that is coming down on them, Russia, for doing this is pretty intense. The world has really banded together. I think my understanding is even Fox News has changed their tune. So how is it affecting us? How's it affecting everybody in the room from just an industry standpoint of view?
Diesel prices.
Yeah, fuel's going to go up, and it's going to go up a lot, probably.
Already going up.
Yeah, we're dealing with the challenge of shipping because the price of shipping is changing on a radical basis. Whereas, we have to get the quote within 24 hours, basically, of shipping, because it could go up or down. Once we get it locked in, then, they're guaranteeing it. But there's always these after charges and fuel charges. And, I know FedEx is really being affected by it, because they used to say when it positively, absolutely has to get there overnight, go with FedEx. But now in most cases, they don't even have overnight service. And that's crazy. And of course, the prices are going up and up and up on FedEx. Tina, have we been using UPS at all? I don't think we have.
No, not that much. Not at all, really.
Yeah, so we can't really speak about UPS, but FedEx is still more reliable than
Well,
UPS.
we can. I do get the quotes from UPS and FedEx, but FedEx seems to always be better in pricing, and they're very expensive too right now.
Well, hold the phone. Wayne Sims is in the room all the way from Wagga Wagga. He's been moving, he's been working, he's been doing it. Wayne, good to see you.
Same to you. Hello to everyone on the Zoomy room.
Hey,
So now, is
So,
walking
yeah.
about costing you more money now that your company, because of what's going on in the world?
Say that again. I have
you
to say
seen
one
your
thing. I'm
prices
just
go
on.
up in any way, shape, or form? Fuel prices, food prices, anything else like that?
I paid $2.05 for a litre of premium fuel this morning.
And
Per
how does
litre.
that compare to what you used to pay?
70 cents a litre, or nearly $1 dearer. It was about, no, that's not correct, probably 50 cents dearer. So that's nearly getting to $10 a gallon.
Price of cornflakes go up?
Sorry?
Did the price of cornflakes go up?
cornflakes.
I have to say that my computer connection, or my internet, is not landline. I'm on the Wi-Fi, and it's a backup, so it may not work correctly. So I'm only hearing some of the conversations.
Well, that's good. You're probably in a better position than most people when they have to hear the whole thing, but that's okay. But anyway, so how else are people being affected right this in the room? Are you seeing any difference in installs? Are you seeing any difference in shows? What's going on in the world of shows? Because just to talk about what I see happening right now, other than the shows that have been canceled that are being in Russia, it seems like there are a lot of shows going on. Willie Nelson will just announce that he's doing some stuff at his ranch. Chris Stapleton is doing an all-American show. He's putting out, he's added to the LA Forum and Detroit's Commercial Park. Lady Gaga is back to the Dolby Theater in April. The Jonas Brothers are in Las Vegas. They're doing 5 nights. Broccoli City Festival, the 2022, that's May 7th and 8th, in Washington's RFK Stadium. Metallica has announced that they're going to be doing a summer stadium shows. Aftershock will be returning to Discovery Park in Sacramento. Chris Rock announced he's doing a North American tour. Eric Church is on the road. A regional Mexican singer called Pepe Aguilar, along with his family. It's like a circus show. They do rodeo clowns, jockeys. He's out on the road. Frank Turner and the Sleeping Souls, or Greta Fleet, added 42 dates. So I am seeing in the news from Polestar that a lot of shows are taking place right now, or a lot of tours. How are you guys seeing that? Is you seeing anything affected? What's going on in the real world?
I'm supposed to go see Satriani in Tucson. I think it was yesterday or today, I don't know. And they moved it by a day. And because I had spring training booked originally, I had to cancel. But then, of course, spring training isn't happening. And so I missed the show. But
Biggest problem.
what I was going to say to you earlier, though, was I read today that Tesla has lit up all their Starlink satellites and shipped Ukraine a bunch of stations for people to have internet access, since they pretty much got cut off from the rest of the world. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, the interesting thing is, the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, Russia attacked one of their television towers. And evidently the missile did not destroy it, and it's up and running still. And that is like a sign right now for them of great resistance, so like now the Ukrainian people are really coming together, although they just lost one of their cities in the south, another city in the south. But I really like what their president is doing. Here he is, he was an entertainer, stand-up comedian. And, and now he's raised himself to the challenge. And he's inspiring. So, I've been affected. My telephone company, Nextiva, which is a phenomenal service. They have their tech support in Ukraine, and they've managed to do some really amazing tech support. I needed something done. I called them up. I didn't realize they were in the Ukrainian area, and they're making it happen. And the company that we use to broadcast this to Facebook, YouTube, and all the other outside sources is called Restream, and they are in Ukraine. And I got a letter from the president of their company. Let me see if I can find it. And basically, he's saying that my name is Alex. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Restream. I'm also a father, husband, and above all, today, I'm a proud Ukrainian. As you likely know, yesterday, Russian forces conducted airstrikes at his hometown. And in the last 24 hours, we have received an outpouring of support from friends and colleagues, many inquiring about the safety of our team and ways they could help. And here's an update on the two things Restream is doing today to support our employees and the people of Ukraine. Number one, employee safety. Safety of our teammates is always a top priority. Last month, we offered and arranged the relocation of our Ukrainian-based employees and their family through a dedicated effort of many teammates. So they did that. And the other thing is they just donated $100,000 to the Red Cross of Ukraine, and they've also compiled a list. And I will throw that list in the chat if you guys want to make any donations. Then that's what we will do. Anybody have anything they want to say about that before we move on?
Well, Yoshiki, the guy I work with, he donated $100,000 to the Ukrainians also. It was very nice. Which, of course, is 10 million yen, but it was pretty cool. But I was going to say something interesting with this Elon Musk and his Starlink thing. If you think back to the first Gulf War, that's what made CNN. CNN was just standing on the sidelines until we had the first Gulf War, and then all of a sudden they became how the entire country got their news. And I think what Elon Musk has lucked out, that this has now put Starlink on the map for what it really is. It's non-political. You cannot stop it. And I think that's pretty important to note.
It is pretty impressive seeing he lost like 40 satellites during because of some sort of interstellar storm. So it's amazing that he still has satellites up there to do that.
There's a couple of thousand up there.
And it was very generous of him to do that, to put a satellite. I mean, that's really humanitarian of him. But he's done a lot of humanitarian things, especially in regards to, the ecology, depending on how you look at it.
Well, I mean, he may be doing that, but this is a business venture. This is surround the Earth with thousands and thousands of his little satellites, and therefore he will control how the internet gets around the Earth. I think it may be somewhat altruistic, but it's very much.
I sincerely doubt it's 100% altruistic.
Yeah, of course not.
I think there will come a time when he will want to control the content on those satellites. And whatever content best suits him and his business needs is the content that will flow. Would be my guess.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that the original vision was to have access for everyone.
Well, the original vision was just to have access for underpopulated, underserved areas, remote areas where they're never going to run copper to or fiber to just because it's not worth it, because it's a village of 30 people or whatever. That's, a 7-hour drive from the closest town of 200 people. That kind of remoteness. So let's hope it sticks to that. I think in this case, but I also think that if it weren't such a clear-cut scenario, if it weren't clearly one country trying to decimate the other, if it was just a little border skirmish between UAE and Yemen, I don't know that he would be so close to, so quick to rush to send satellites and all that. This one speaks to him to some degree for some reason. But it speaks to a lot of people. David Ross of Ross Video donated 100. I didn't know this. One of his grandparents is Ukrainian. Actually, two of them. On his mother's side, I believe they're Ukrainian. He donated $100,000. He terminated all the Russian dealers, and they cut off support to all their Russian customers. So the squeeze is on. And that's what's going to be curious to see, because first off, the price of fuel is going to go up. Everybody, should hang on. We were a little surprised, economists were, when the price of oil got hit $100 a barrel back on Valentine's Day, which was even before the invasion. Well, it closed today at almost 111. If it hits 115-ish, high 114, low 115, that would result in a likely 10% annual inflation rate in the United States. Now, so far, it doesn't seem, everybody's complaining about inflation, but it doesn't seem to matter so far. Consumer spending went up in January, higher than it was in December, which was higher than it was in November, which is higher than it was in October. It just keeps going up. So we'll see how it all fleshes out, but at some point it has to contract some.
Well, what they're doing, the world
more
is
money for
doing.
the same stuff.
I'm sorry, Ken?
Are they spending more money for the same amount of stuff?
No, that's aggregate. So the dollar volume into the market went up 2.1% after factoring in inflation.
Well, just think about the people in Russia right now, how they're getting squeezed. I heard that, first of all, their stock market is closed. Second of all, I heard their ruble is down 40%. So
the stock market, the Russian stocks today on the British market fell 98% in value.
Whoa.
$480 billion was wiped out of the Russian economy just today. And so there's two challenges ahead. I read a really good piece in The Atlantic explaining a couple of things. So Putin's been preparing for this for quite a while, apparently since 2014, since the Crimea thing didn't go quite as smoothly as he hoped. And he's been saving up tons of money in euros and dollars, primarily over $600 million in either euros or dollars being held in reserve. But it turns out they're being held in reserve, but they're not being held in reserve in banks that are within the Russian borders. They're being held at other banks in Germany, in France, in London, in New York, at the Fed, at the European Central Bank. Well, when he starts asking for this money, guess what we're going to say? No, you can't have it. The problem with that, of course, is that everything then crashes very fast. Russia becomes destabilized, not just financially, but also socially. And then Putin maybe gets really desperate and does something really stupid. So the argument now is to deny the Russian central bank, or I'm sorry, let the Russian central bank ask for their dollars and their euros, but the private banks that the oligarchs use, deny all of them. So at some point, the oligarchs have a little lunch meeting and go, listen, we have a problem. And the only way we're going to solve this Putin problem permanently is to solve this Putin problem permanently.
I've been thinking that same thing. I've been absolutely thinking that same thing. But you have to be careful what you say, yes, because the reality is, I remember saying to someone that when there was a political figure, and I said, well, you should drop dead. But and I got banned. I got they pulled that. They said that was the wrong thing to say, and they pulled my Twitter account. I had to go to Twitter jail for a while. So you got to be careful what you say. But I'm thinking the same thing, that all of his surrounding folks are being squeezed so much they're going to be losing their yachts and their apartments, and their
right
kids
now
are getting
they're
thrown out of school.
So the I don't know if you guys saw this story. It was funny as heck. The kid that's been tracking, he set up an automated Twitter account to track Elon Musk's plane, so that wherever Elon Musk's plane went, if you follow this Twitter account, you know where Elon Musk is. And Elon Musk offered him $5,000 to shut it down, and the kid was like, $5,000? No, give me a Tesla. And so far, Elon Musk has not acquiesced. However, this kid now went, oh, I got a great idea. So he has set up several Twitter accounts that track the Russian oligarch jets and yachts. And they are all making a mad dash for the Maldives, because the Maldives does not have an extradition treaty with the US. I would not be surprised if once all those jets and boats arrive in the Maldives, if some country, whether it's the US or Germany or UK, just says, you know what, we really don't care whether we have an extradition treaty with you, we're taking them anyway. And if you want to stop us, that's probably a really bad idea. But at some point, yes, I suspect the more we squeeze the people in Putin's circle and the more painful it becomes for them, at some point they're going to go, what the hell do I get out of this Ukraine deal anyway? Why should I care? And this needs to go away. Because at this point, they have to be realizing it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's not going to be like Crimea, where once Putin had Crimea, we kind of went, crap, well, that sucks, but nothing we can do about it now, and walk away from it. This is going to be a much harder deal.
Yeah. Also, it just broke right now as we were speaking that the New York Times is reporting that China asked Russia to delay its invasion of Ukraine, not to coincide with the Olympics. And I guess it really didn't make a difference because nobody was really watching the Olympics. It was the worst of all of the Olympics ever. It was the 20 had the lowest ratings ever on NBC. The viewership of the 2022 Winter Olympics was so bad that NBC's coverage of Beijing Games drew the lowest rating in the event's history on the network, dropping roughly 42% from the 19.8 million coverage of the last Winter Games. So
where are you reading that at, Jan? Because I got the post-mortem from NBC, thanking all of us for being there. And they were just ecstatic at the numbers that they had. They broke all their records.
I will tell you where I got it from in a second, because the link will go into the show notes. But let me see if I could tell you where it came from, because I use Bitly. It came from the Inquirer. No, it came from KNX News. KNX News, which is out of, I believe, San Francisco. Yeah, KNX News.
Interesting. Like I said, all they did was they were patting themselves on the back as to they broke all the records. They were really happy with all the streaming services. Everything made money. They got sued for copyright infringement on some skater's song that they were playing, but other than that, they were very happy with everything. So
yeah, KNX News, I think, is out of San Francisco, I believe. But that's they reported that, and that's where I got it from.
And so, was it their original story, or did they pick it up off of Reuters or AP or something like that?
Well, I'm sure that they always do it. They use an aggregate because they don't have their own reporters to do that. So I'm sure it would be, I mean, it's easily researched. If somebody wants to grab the link and say, how did the Olympics do? I am sure it will come up.
Yeah,
I will say I did not watch a single minute of the Olympics.
I wish I would have kept that letter. I could have dropped it in the chat, but I didn't. I deleted it.
It might have been written with disappearing ink.
Never delete anything. Never.
Well, nothing is ever deleted in reality because it always can be recovered, you know, unless, of course, you shredded it in real life with paper. But other than that, you know, and speaking of shredding and also, you know, other things going on, what is going on with baseball? I mean, you know, they must be out of their minds to postpone the season. And it looks like there might not even be a season.
Again, and this is why I stopped watching baseball years ago, because they're all greedy pigs, and I'm done. It had nothing to do with being a Cubs fan. Nothing at all.
Would it have anything to do with the new football league starting up this spring and not to compete with it? That the conspiracy that the football XFL is pushing it?
No, I just quickly skimmed through an article yesterday, and from what I'm seeing, it's basically the Players Association wants all players paid anytime they are called up to the majors. They want them to automatically fall into the, you know, the minimum salary and all that. And the owner, excuse me, the owners are saying, if we just call somebody up for evaluation, if we're just going to have them, you know, play a game or two for evaluation, or to bring them to spring training, or you know, to bring them into winter league, that's basically a job application, and we shouldn't have to pay them to apply for a job. So that's part of the argument. I'm sure there's other stuff, and it probably goes into more depth, but at the end of the day, it's still just another case of billionaires fighting millionaires over the right to make even more money.
Well, that's where I come in. I'm not a millionaire, billionaire, whatever. I want to watch baseball when I need to go to sleep. You know, if I have insomnia, it's the best cure for insomnia. I know, watching baseball. You know,
I'm a thousandaire.
You know, I used to say, I've got a 7-figure salary, but of course there's 2 decimal places in there, you know, so there you go.
Would you like a little bit of breaking news?
Yes.
As of 4:30, Cavalo Nashville is sold out.
Congratulations. That's really good news.
No, it's terrible. I'm leaving money on the table. I know there's at least 5 more exhibitors out there. Now I got to invent some way to take their money. I'm sorry.
Can't you get a bigger space?
Some way to serve those valuable clients.
Well, first of all, for the people who are watching, what is Cavalo?
So Cavalo is a regional professional / commercial audio, video, and lighting trade show that I created. By professional, I mean, you're not going to find any residential stuff there. You know, no Sonos, no 5.1 surround, none of that. And it happens twice a year. In the spring, it's either Vegas or Nashville. And in the fall, it's always in Texas. And we are going to Nashville on May 11th. We will be at the Embassy Suites, Nashville South Cool Springs in beautiful Franklin, Tennessee. And there may or may not be one of our panelists present at this very moment.
Well, speaking of Nashville, weren't you just in Nashville for some major event where you got a scarf for some reason?
I was in Nashville. Mr. Ken Porter, being part of the Nashville AES chapter, he organized a little something, or he helped organize a little something called spring training, where a lot of manufacturers, primarily audio, obviously, for AES, but come in and do console training, microphone training, that sort of stuff, primarily for the live folks. But I did fly in to see Ken and see some of those folks, and I got to see Kelly Fair and Matt Larson, and I met some new folks from Avid and a couple other companies. RCF was there, Allen and Heath was there, Sennheiser, Electrosonics, and it was a good time, other than the fact that it was a little chilly. It was slightly chillier than I expected it to be when I flew there.
The rain.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Tell us a little about AES, how'd it go? What happened?
It went real well. Had quite a few people. A lot of people have sent me emails this week and thanked me for putting it together. I don't know, you know, everybody wants to do another one. I'm not sure if I can find a better time, because I didn't realize that I entered on Sunday and load in at what's the theater show in Baltimore?
USITT.
USITT was Monday. It's like that was hard to get stuff out and get it up. Some people are trucking up to Baltimore overnight.
Yeah, and I'll say this: I did not realize, and I'm still, even today, I have, and I don't think I can share my screen, but I can send something to Jan.
Oh, you can share your screen.
Okay, let me open this then, and then let me close all the things I don't want you to see.
Okay, but in the meantime, so Ken, what I heard you were very busy because I was speaking to somebody, I can't remember who it was, who told me how impressed he was with AES. And I said, well, did you get a chance to get together with Ken Porter? Did you get somebody had said, oh, I think it was Michael. I think you were the one who told me that you had barbecue. And I asked you where you had the barbecue. That's right. And I said, did Ken take you to that place where you walk inside and you smell like smoke for a week afterwards, no matter what you do?
I took him to Jack's one time.
That is a landmark experience. If you've never been to Jack's, you should make it a point of reference.
This barbecue, Ken, was at the airport.
Oh,
in the B gates, and like all good. Now, for those of you who are not barbecue connoisseurs, I'll let you in on a little tip. If the barbecue place does not have a pig in their logo somewhere, don't eat there. It's just not going to be good. All the good barbecue places have a pig in their logo. Now, it does not conversely mean that if they have a pig in their logo, it's automatically good barbecue. But if there's no pig, keep on walking. This place was really good. Some of the best sausage I've ever had.
What we got to figure out too is how to get Jan to come back and go down and do Prince's hot chicken. He's a friend.
You want to talk about spicy food here? We got spicy food here in Thailand. I have to tell you that. But the reality is, I never could understand why you go into a seafood restaurant and there's a picture of fish all over the wall, or when you go into a beef restaurant, you see pictures of the cows. It just doesn't make with the steers. It doesn't make any sense to me why they do that.
For the people that can't read.
They don't show the pictures of the food, like the steaks, the prepared. They show the picture of the whole animal.
Because they're happy. They're happy cows that have devoted their life to making my belly happy.
And one of the worst things is you go into a seafood restaurant and they've got a tropical, fish tank. I just think it's such torture for those fish that are in the tank to watch all their brothers being eaten,
I did an auction for the aquarium and they served salmon, and on all of the screens all the way around the room, they had a loop of tropical fish swimming around while they're eating the salmon.
Yeah.
All right. So are you guys seeing my screen, seeing this Word doc?
It started sharing your screen, but we don't see anything except it's sharing your screen.
It says Mike BC Embassy /
There it goes. Now we see it.
Yeah, so this is a document I started creating last year, and it has all the major holidays on it, the government holidays, and then all the major religion holidays. And then all the stuff that isn't in bold or in italics are industry events. So these are trade shows or training sessions that have some sort of pro audio, video, or lighting, most likely exhibits. So like if it's just a conference where there's no manufacturers exhibiting, it's probably not listed here. And even just today, I added another event to this calendar, and the font keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller because I didn't realize every year there are somewhere around at least 40 that I've found. I'd have to count them. I don't know exactly how many are here. It's 40 to 50, maybe even 60 industry events with people, with pro audio, video, or lighting exhibits, booths, manufacturers, displaying their wares. I'm not, and so when Ken talks about the challenge of conflicting with, USITT for loadout and shipping and all that, I picked the dates for Cablo Nashville months ago when ISE, which is the European version of Infocom, rescheduled. They rescheduled to the same week as Kavlo. There's a new worship trade show, small conference with exhibits, we'll say, small at the moment. I have a feeling it's going to grow in Chicago, the exact same dates as Kavlo. My Texas show, we had already picked the dates for that, and a major integrator called Diversified, they're going to have their little in-house trade show that same week. There is no easy week anymore to do an event in the pro AV world in the United States. You will always be in conflict with somebody.
Now, wasn't I under the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, but didn't they just have Mardi Gras, and didn't that conflict with AES as well? Because Mardi Gras went full steam ahead this year. Does anybody have? I wish Steve was in the room from New Orleans, but does anybody know anything about what happened with Mardi Gras, and how did it affect you, Ken?
Because I had stuff done at the convention center, and the whole Mercedes Dome Stadium full of PA did a show at Adenium on Saturday night, and then the convention center came out on yesterday. No, it came out today. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Today is Wednesday all day, depending on where you are in the world.
Well, today's
Could be
Ash
Thursday
Wednesday.
for some of us.
Got your ash mark? Oh. Yeah, it's the question I'm wondering about, because the other problem I have is you got ISE talking about coming back next year, the 1st of May, 1st of February, and nobody knows. They haven't announced when they're going to come move NAM back to January. I was trying to find something in.
That is the big question right now. If NAM is going to move back to January.
My question is, would the 14th, 15th, like a Tuesday, Wednesday of November, it's the week before Thanksgiving, and it's the week after CMA award show. What else conflicts in that period?
It's not a conflict, but nobody will travel distance after about the 10th of November until after New Year. Everything shut. You'll go to a regional show, and you'll go to a significant meeting if you have to. But one of the reasons LDI suffered a little bit last year was because how late it was.
Well, but part of the reason is that a lot of touring guys run heavily into the 3rd to 4th week of October. They pack it in, they do a award show, and then they look at the manager and say, what are we doing next year? And they got to start writing the writer and all that stuff there. The other point too is that a lot of people, festivals and stuff there are starting to send out their RFPs for a lot of shows and stuff, starting particularly spring festivals when you start the Florida and the Texas stuff. And some of them even, back in August, they'll send out stuff in December. So the point is if you have an idea what you need, it's better to know it before you get past.
Right. And there's a thought there, right? That you're catching people right on the downside of, so you're kind of easing out of the busy time of the year, and they'll be more likely to go to a show. But there used to be a show in San Diego every year called Music California. And it was always the week after Easter. And Music California was the show where worship, praise team leaders, musical directors from big churches, etc., they would come to this convention, and they would watch all the new plays and musicals, Christmas plays, Christmas pageants, and all that the publishing companies had put together. And the publishing companies were literally flying choirs in from Georgia, and this such and such a famous actor from Broadway, and they would actually do like a condensed version. They'd maybe do like a 20 to 30 minute, but the music ministers and the praise team leaders could then buy the music, buy the costumes, all that for next year's Easter. The show ended up collapsing because the only people that were coming were the people from Minnesota, Wisconsin, upstate New York, and it wasn't so much about about buying this stuff, because at the time the show collapsed in the mid to late 2000s. the internet was coming on. So you could do a lot of stuff on the internet by then. The reason they were coming is because it was San Diego in April. That was the only reason they were coming. So anybody who was already in a warm climate wouldn't come because they just wanted to stay at home and veg out. So, I mean, there's a thought there, and obviously anything's possible. You can make a compelling argument for anything.
Well, how can you make a compelling argument about Orlando being a convention world? How do you do that? I don't know.
I don't ask me. I hate Orlando, other than for the fun of poking Infocom in the side. Oh, by the way, I've been banned from speaking at Infocom. So those of you who are hoping to hear my wisdom at Infocom, sorry to disappoint you.
There's one thing that you guys have been talking about with this, but it seems Zoom has started something called Expo for Zoom events, and it's looking for a way to make your virtual event feel more like an in-person experience and drive meaningful connections with attendees is what it is. I don't know much about it. Maybe I know John Idelson is in the back of the room. I met him in office hours, and he seemed to be pretty much knowledgeable of what's going on with Zoom. John, do you have anything? Do you know anything about this Zoom Expo and how it can interface with what we're doing?
If I knew anything, I wouldn't be allowed to tell you. My son works for Zoom, as you may know.
Really?
Yeah, what a surprise. No, I just know that they're being very aggressive in the events business and the return to the office. They think there's lots of opportunities for people to use Zoom in varied ways. So today there was an interesting announcement in the Zoom blog. They announced Cinemaker as a Zoom app partner in their app store. And Cinemaker is essentially a production switcher that lets you use iPhones as remote cameras and bring Zoom meetings in as a green room. So Zoom is being aggressive in trying to serve both the high end and then the general public in terms of exciting meetings and engagement.
Yeah. So, I mean, that might be something, Ken, when you're looking for a time and a place to do this, this is also an opportunity to get other people involved in a virtual way, still using the Zoom application.
We had, I don't know if you saw it, Mike, but we had Avid had a Chant on remote. You walk up to the console and you talk to Chant, and he ran stuff. He control the console in front of you.
Yeah, they were doing that with Robert Scovel was doing that as well. The two of them, Champ Peck and Robert Scovel, were actually doing that. I don't know what, but that was before. That was I wasn't at AES, so but Champ was actually there.
There was a company there called Remote Pro Live, and they specialize in multi-location co-working entertainment applications. So, and I didn't realize this, not just talking to them, somebody else confirmed it for me. But I guess the head of the A1 for Foo Fighters hasn't left his house in a couple of years. He mixes their shows from his living room.
It's a really different world. We were using Zoom for electronic field trips with the K-12 school community in the California State Parks pre-COVID. And that was a interpreter ranger connecting with a classroom teacher with a class, looking at a Zoom meeting in a classroom. COVID hit, they did what was called Ports at Home. Ports stands for Parks Online Resources for students and teachers, but the students were all at home. And that became sort of a mass market. And the Zoom, the Ports project over Zoom in the 2 years of COVID reached the same number of students that they reached in the first 15 years of doing their electronic field trips between rangers and schools. So I think the opportunity to reach people where they are, when they are, and like you were saying, a lot of people are doing it. We used to joke about having a job where you just phoned in. Now you can just phone in.
Well, there's
this company, Remote Pro Live, is actually they build in the cloud for your event or series of events. In the case of concerts, they build a network where you could literally have some of the talent in one city, some of the rest of the talent in another city, the person mixing it in a third city, and they say the latency is under 5 milliseconds. 3 to 5 milliseconds is typical. and it works. I was flabbergasted it could be that tight, and that's what Avid was doing. Avid was had a console there. I apologize, I don't know all the Avid consoles, but they had a console there.
S6L.
And then they had a camera facing the people, the audience, the participants, the people walking by the booth. And at the other end, they had two cameras, one facing the trainer, and then the other one a straight down shot of what he was doing on the console at his end. So you could mimic it on the one they had on display. So if you had a very specific question about, how do I patch this, or I want to route whatever, he would walk you through it. And he was, I think, in Philadelphia, was it, Ken? I forget where he was.
Thought he was in Phoenix.
Ah, there you go. The other sound. Phoenix.
And this announcement that was in the blog day about Cinemaker, what's interesting is there was another announcement about the Zoom SDK. So essentially Zoom was embedded in this app, and I could see a lot of the companies adding Zoom into their virtual crowd operations. You could imagine a mixer that its talkback was just multiple Zoom rooms.
Well, the other one, I've someone came through that they have a business called the Virtual Studio, and I think he's doing it through Zoom, and he's doing multiple stuff where he's doing content for TV through multi-site.
Yeah,
Well,
for those of you who are in live production, boy, and that's not my gig. I don't want to work nights or weekends. We assiduously steer away from production services. We have to stay abreast of things because we build production facilities or venues that might be used for production. But man, you got to get into it, because it's not like it's a thing that's coming or a thing that's going to be once in a while. Any of you that are doing live events, you should plan on there being a significant online multi-city capability that'll be required to do them.
Yeah.
I'm doing one of those tomorrow. I've got what they're calling cloud control for an NHL game tomorrow for the Avalanche TV network out of Colorado. I assume my play-by-play guy is in the arena with me. Color guy is in Denver. The director is probably at his home in Denver. The producer is probably at his home in Denver. And I'm in a TV truck in Arizona.
Now, the interesting thing about that, and again, John knows more about this than I do, but Zoom actually bought this company called OCS, I believe, and this guy, Andy Coluccio, who had figured out a way how to manipulate the Zoom room itself, so to make it more like a TV studio, like a TV switcher. And Zoom bought what's the progress on that? Have they come out with anything new?
I think it's OSC.
John, you're muted. Well, I guess he must be talking to somebody else, because he's not talking to us.
I'm talking to you.
Right.
If I knew how to operate this technology, I'd be wonderful, Jim. The famous on-off switch, or mute is what it's normally called. Zoom OSC and Zoom ISO were two Zoom clients that Liminal built to allow people who want to do more sophisticated Zoom meetings. And those of you who are experienced with office hours, now the Alex Lindsay office hours has a version 2.0 with a much cleaner look and a more produced look. But
is that live now, John? Is that live?
It's live. The same office hours every 7 a.m. Pacific for 1 hour for Q&A, and then the second hour special topics. But the company Liminal, its assets and its employees were absorbed by Zoom, and I assume that we're going to see those things appear in Zoom, but I have no knowledge. I just know that Andy's working for Zoom now.
Yeah, and so I'm sure that he's going to go away from. I forgot what that app was that you had that you had to use. If I could remember, that you had to go into a secondary channel, a secondary app to control it. But I'm sure that that's going to be all interfaced with Zoom, so it's going to be just seamless. And so even
when we didn't get into this space well thought out with a plan. Remember, we got a notice, everything had closed down, and a week later it was closed down. We're 2 years into it, and I'm beginning to see people really developing new workflows, new strategies. How many of you in this group we've got enough gray beards, worked with Photoshop 01? The first version of Photoshop. I see Fred nodding. The original version of Photoshop isn't anything like the current version. And it got changed not by the engineers, but it got changed by the practitioners trying to do things and then talking to the engineers and say, wouldn't it be cute if you could do this? I think that's the space we're in now. It's going to be people like this group, not me, I'm a retired professor, but who are in the field, coming with the problems that need to be solved, and they'll put it into the tools.
Well, all these things, the office hours. I mean, it's incredible that you guys do this 7 days a week. I'm blown away. I have not been on there in quite a while, but just the times I have been on and just listening to people talking and bringing up new ideas and stuff, but there's a lot of these Zoom things, the AV Tech Talks. This particular meeting, we get into some technical stuff sometimes.
There's
Robert's the lab
kitchen,
before
the tech talks.
I mean, there's all kinds of things out there where we're all learning since with this COVID thing.
I think a lot of those are just spin off from office hours. But I think the thing with office hours that is amazing is that they've done it 708 days in a row now, I think, coming up to almost 2 years. And
yeah, that's incredible that you get that. Man, 7 days a week.
But what is more amazing is they did, they have the Q&A for an hour, and then they did an hour talking about the graphics at the Olympics. And then they did what is called after hours, where the same people who were talking about the graphics in the Olympics, when they weren't being put on YouTube, said, let me tell you what really happened. And the sort of people who are willing to open up in this community has been pretty amazing. And credit to Alex, but I think a credit to the people who have devoted their time, because they feel they get something and they give something. And I've spent way more time on office hours than my wife says I should. But
yes,
I wouldn't have
during
met
the
Jan
pandemic,
without
that was
Jan, you and I would have never connected.
That's right. During the pandemic, the only thing that really helped me go through it in the beginning was office hours, finding office hours and becoming part of a community. And I had a reason to wake up every morning to be able to, get there and fine tune my game. But the reality is our industry, the live performance industry, the install industry, anything that has to do with concerts it's never going to go backwards, where they're never going to do a non-streaming situation, because that's where we're at right now. So the development of the technology of streaming will get more and more and more proficient, and it'll grow. And that's and right now, every company has some sort of streaming division, whether they call it a streaming division or not. But there is a virtual reality division in every company right now. That's all there is to it. And it's just going to develop more and more, as scientists have realized now that taking 10,000 steps a day actually doesn't matter. It's just a number, pulled out of thin air. So there's no reason to go to a convention to get your exercise. Now you can do it anyway, so that's I just thought I would.
Jan,
Right,
I wouldn't have met you.
Not taking 10,000 steps a day does matter.
Yeah.
Well, there's an article in Inc. magazine. I just threw that in, and we'll throw that into the chat so you guys can read that. But moving on to another story about not doing something.
While you move on, I have to run off, but I want to say hi, Jan. It's always good to see the gang.
Thank you.
I'll try to listen in the background.
Thank you for coming.
Our
Anyway,
best to your family.
So moving on with things that are not happening anymore. World Stage, it decided to cease business on February 21st. There was an article in Live Design. So I'm going to throw that in the chat. It's amazing that they made it through the pandemic and then they couldn't come through it on the other side, which is crazy.
It's all ownership stuff. Ownership and upper management did just fine.
You know,
I have friends that work there and got out last year, and I was like, at the time, I remember thinking, why are you leaving such a well-known company in the middle of a pandemic? And they're like, yeah, it's not all that. It won't be around much longer.
yeah. Well, it's a shame. You know, so many people. David, did you end up getting paid? Didn't you do a job for them? I guess David's no longer in the room. No, David here's. David?
It's been that way for a while. I think he's doing something off screen.
Okay. Oh, whatever it is. All right. So anyway, just an FYI, The Godfather is its 50th anniversary this year. And Francis Coppola basically just restored The Godfather so that you'll be able to now see it in movie theaters with an updated digital streaming version of The Godfather. So that's kind of cool. I thought that was kind of cool that 50 years ago, The Godfather came out. Pretty amazing. I wonder what we were all doing 50 years ago.
I believe that's an AFI. I think that's one of the top 10 in the AFI's greatest American films ever made. One moment, please.
Yeah. 50 years ago. What year was that? 50 years ago.
It's just a phenomenal movie.
Yep. 3 of them, as a matter of fact. He won 3 Academy Awards.
All 3 of them phenomenal. 1 and 2, certainly. Number 3, pretty good.
Just remember, everything here today is an opinion, everybody.
The Godfather's number 3.
Research. Well, definitely put Al Pacino on the map. That's for sure.
Godfather's number 3, and I'm trying to see where Godfather 2 is. Well, it's not in the top 40. That's odd. Huh. I disagree.
Well, that's it. Anyway, one last thing I'm going to say. Actually, there's a couple of things. Last week I mentioned an app called Unlined. That's Unlined, like UNLINED app. And basically, it's a free app on the App Store. I don't believe it's on Android yet, but it supposedly ends spam calls. I haven't been able to try it myself because I am out of the country. It only works in the United States.
And for those of you who don't know, Jan has an unhealthy obsession with blocking spam calls. When Jan was still stateside, and he and I and a couple other folks would go to lunch almost, I wouldn't say every Friday, but for a while it was almost every Friday. It was at least a couple of Fridays a month. There was not a lunch that went by where we didn't hear about robocall or robokiller.
Yeah, robokiller was amazing, but it stopped working for me.
All you have to do is say robokiller and his face just lights up.
It's an amazing app, but it's $40. It's $40 a year. This is free.
Yeah, it was $40 a year, and it was tied to your cable company or something, or whoever your telephone provider is. It's free for your cell phone, but you had to pay for it if you wanted it on your landline.
Or you just get rid of your landline.
That's right. Which who has a landline? Landline? What's that?
Spam.
I still have one. I use my fax machine.
Hey, Fred, aren't you in? You're in the Phoenix area, right? Congratulations. Yes. Phoenix leads the nation in year-over-year housing value increase.
Nice.
In the last 12 months, your home value, theoretically, generally speaking, went up 32.5%. 32. I thought I was doing well. Vegas is just 6th.
Yeah.
It's Nashville.
Yeah.
What?
Speaking of fax machines, by the way, I read an article, and we'll throw a link in the chat as well, about 39 obsolete technologies that will baffle the younger generation. One being cassette tapes, Another is a telephone booth, rotary telephone lines, a dumb phone, pagers and beepers, so I will throw the link on that of obsolete things that are around. But you know what? They did a survey, and this is kind of interesting, that according to the survey of 2,000 smartphone users, 6 out of 10 people said that they couldn't cope with being separated from their phone for a day. Survey shows 1 in 8 people suffer anxiety from low phone battery, and 27% of the people in the survey said they are fully reliant on their phones for directions. I know I am. I couldn't get from point A to B without my phone. And overall, 48% of the people said that losing their phone would be very upsetting, and losing a smartphone ranked above losing a credit card, car keys, or even a wedding ring. And I can understand that, because here in Thailand, you use it for banking and paying all your bills. And I guess all over the world, other than the United States, the phone and the smart technology of banking is embedded in your phone app. You don't even need a card. You go to the bank with your phone app, you push a couple of buttons, and the ATM spits out money for you if you've got the money in the bank. But you also pay all your bills here. Instead of giving them a credit card, they show you a QR code. You scan it with your phone, and it takes the money out of your bank.
Fred, did you find the phone? That's what you went to look for, wasn't it? I knew. Yeah, I knew. He went to look for a phone.
I went to go look for my old Motorola brick phone. It's still around here someplace. I thought I was going to be able to pull it out and show it.
I got rid of my brick. I can't even tell you when, probably back in the 90s, but I have my StarTAC still. I have my Motorola StarTAC. I found it in a box ages ago, and I kept it as a lark. I will tell all of you that a phenomenal practical joke, if you're into tormenting young people like I am, is if you happen to come across a rotary phone, you explain to the kids how it works, but as you're telling them how to dial, you tell them, okay, so you put your finger in the hole right next to the number, and then you turn it counterclockwise until your finger touches the metal thing, and then say, but don't let your metal finger rest there, because it'll get shocked, and then they're scared to dial, right? And I said, but you got to go far enough or else it doesn't register. And then, of course, as soon as they try dialing, as soon as their finger gets close, you do the old, and they jump out of their skin.
You must be fun at a party, Mike. Fun at a party. That's all I can say. Well, listen, guys, we have covered a lot of the news that I wanted to cover. There's more stories to be covered, but we're not going to cover them anymore today. I also wanted to talk about regrets, but unfortunately, I have a regret that I won't be able to talk about it today. So we'll try to talk about it next week about regrets. But think about what your regrets are. But one thing before we go, I just wanted to say, and this was an interesting article that I saw, and it's about somehow. And let me see if I could, let me just basically tell you what it is. It's that somewhere a scientist was able to, this guy was dying. And as he was dying, somehow they were able to they had him hooked up to a brainwave machine. And the brainwaves of a dying person have been recorded in detail for the first time. And something we may learn from this research is, although our loved ones have their eyes closed when they're ready to leave us, their brains may be replaying some of their nicest moments they've experienced in their lives. And I started thinking about that. That if that is the case, and there's an article that gives all the details. So basically, just before you die, the best memories you have pop to your head. And I started thinking about, what are my best memories? If that's the case, what am I going to be thinking about just before I say adios?
Well, clearly us.
It could be it. It could be it. It could be the beauty of the Zoom meeting. Yeah,
you're gonna see a Zoom screen and a bunch of individual faces with a chat bar. That'll be the final thing you see. The light.
I would think that if you had a child, that the day that child, your first child, was born, that would be a highlight in your life. That would be one of the best memories you could have. That's what I would think. For those in the room that have had children, would you agree with that?
Yes.
I mean, that's a maybe. I have better memories with my child than, like, there's been moments in her life that we've shared. And and some that are in pictures, right? So I've seen them a lot, like physically, not just in my mind, because it was captured in a picture. So maybe that's the image that'll come to mind, as opposed to, you know, the sweaty blob.
Yeah, I mean, one of my fondest memories is, and this will go as how should I put this, a nondescript version of what happened. I was with this rock star, legitimate rock star, and we went to a strip club together. That's going to be one of my fondest memories. I'll probably think of that at the end, but you know. That's the story for another day. And if you want to hear that story, you have to tune in next week. That's about it. So does anybody have anything else they want to say before we say goodbye to the people in social media?
Goodbye, people in social media.
Bye, social media.
Goodbye. Goodbye. I wish there could be more. Goodbye.
Well, remember,
I wish there
thanks.
could be more world peace.
Yeah, let's do world peace. That's for sure. We wish everybody, you know, everybody stay safe and healthy, and everything gets back to normal as quickly as possible. And that's a fact. And for all those people in Ukraine, you know, hang in there. And the world is definitely on your side. That's for sure. And I know we are in this group. I speak for myself and everybody else that we are on your side. Peace, freedom, and just remember, this has been, you know, the Mastermind Roundtable group. Just remember, everything you heard is an opinion. So just do your own research. And remember, we'll be back again next week, same time, same place. And if you want to join the panel, send me an email to SoundBroker at Gmail, or DM me or any of the services that you're watching this. So with that in mind, thanks for watching. Have a great week. Stay safe and healthy. And